she could trust me. She showed me the synagogue, she took me through and she told me the history. She was a Catholic, her husband was Jewish. The husband and the children, as she said, flew out of the chimney and died in the Holocaust. And then she decided that she would practice both religions. Then she told me, so I looked after the synagogue, but then the rabbi died.
And if it is person, it has a respect. And where this respect is really recognized, there is also a room for a justice, solidarity and peace.
Víra má taky veřejný význam, může kultivovat společnost, vést lidi k odpovědnosti za druhé, probouzet citlivost pro chudé a slabé a podporovat smíření tam, kde mezi lidmi vzniklo rozdělení.
Of educating people on Islamic studies. So this is point number 1, and then
النقطة الثانية الاتصال المباشر بالقضايا التي تعد ذريعة للتطرف وتفكيكها فكريا بالحجة والدليل من خلال رصد تلك القضايا وأماكن وجودها أو البؤر الموجودة فيها.
And the second approach is to face, in a direct way, in a very straightforward way, those questions where extremism is found. So there are specific theological, jurisprudential questions. We point directly at them and we analyze them, study them, or if you want, deconstruct them and see where this extremist or radical approach comes from, and we treat them in a direct way. And unlike there are many other institutions, there's just parentheses here, or many other approaches who do not point directly at the problem. And Azhar is clear and direct. That's what he's trying to say. That when there is a problem with this issue, for example, excommunication or blasphemy, whatever, within Islamic tradition, they say that this is the problem, they put their fingers there and they try to treat it. New mosques were sometimes considered...
I'm sorry for the interruption, but Gerald, please be strict with timing. Elva, or sorry, Badr, he has like 1 minute.
You have like 1 minute. I know that way. Makes sense. Okay.
1 minute.
So let's say,
thank you.
2 minutes.
This is so in modern times, specifically the post-colonial era, witnessed a unstructured construction of mosques, a pattern that later extended to the West. The mosque, unfortunately, could not and cannot replace the traditional role of a central mosque, which historically provided shelter and care for women, the sick, the homeless, and the vulnerable, education for children, and advanced studies in madrasas and trained jurists and theologians. With this heritage largely ignored by modern Islamic movements focused on power and numerical growth, the mosque has lost much of its role in intellectual and ethical exchange with other traditions and religions.
And people discovered that only quite late. And this is how they found out that the Jews were not only their neighbors, they were their colleagues and friends, and they disappeared from one day to another during Nazism. And then, during communism, it was a taboo to speak about it. So the self-reflection came only in the 90s, and this is maybe part of the answer of your question.
Modernist, exclusivist narratives of Islam compared to, or in contrast with, traditional Islam. We've been working on this in many countries, actually, and I'm glad that Abdel Fattah is here with us to add more to this later.
Myslím, že naším společným úkolem se právě takovému zrůdnému zneužívání náboženství společně a důrazně postavit.
So I think that it's our common task to stand against this obscene behavior or activities as religious leaders.
restoring classical works, both texts and places, and educating Muslims through rigorous methods grounded in both traditional and academic approaches with the support of universities and interreligious institutions and initiatives, as well as initiatives like the US contribution to restoring the Shafi'i's space of learning and reflection, is closer, I claim, to what I call the genealogy of Islamic legal thought in Europe, which is safer, less confrontational, more enriching for academia, and more supportive for dialogue initiatives than the narratives of da'wah movements often driven by superiority, absolutism, and agendas. Al-Shafi'i, just 30 seconds please. Al-Shafi'i was a major influence on the 12th century philosopher and theologian Al-Ghazali. Actually, you should blame Elva, not me.
I will call him later.
Al-Shafi'i was a major influence on the 12th century philosopher and theologian Al-Ghazali, who wrote the objectives of the philosophers, Maqasid al-Falasifa, whose Hebrew translation, the Hebrew translation of the objectives of philosophers written by Al-Ghazali in the 12th century, was beautifully studied in a PhD dissertation by Rabbi Gershon Chertoff in 1953. Chertoff, who is the father of former US Secretary of Homeland Security Michael Chertoff, who served under George Bush, right? President George Bush. And it was the United States that generously funded the restoration of the mausoleum of the father of Islamic legal theory, Imam al-Shafi'i, born in 767 in Gaza and died in 820 in Cairo. Thank you.